Colorado police chief earlier this hour refusing to call this a targeted terror attack, despite the FBI considering it just that. Several people are injured after an attack at the Pearl Street Mall, and one adult male has been taken into custody without incident. Boulder police are investigating if pro-Israel demonstrators were the target of the attack today. We have Paul Murrah with us right now. And Paul, I just want to get your take on what you're seeing so far, what we know so far.
So the distinction between whether it is a terrorism attack or not matters for who takes the lead on the investigation. So our audience should understand that that's the distinction. Now, look, even if it doesn't end up being terrorism, which by all indicia here it does look that way, but it's early. The Bureau would assist either way. But if it is deemed a terrorism attack, and realistically, the FBI is going to make that determination, and Kash Patel seems to have already come down that way. Ultimately, they're the ones that are going to say, we're going to assert jurisdiction. Either way, you're going to have the feds in it, and they are reportedly already on scene. Why does that matter? Because they can do things that a local police department doesn't do. They can check travel. They can talk about what's the footprint overseas? Has this person traveled? They can reach out to embassies, the legats, legal attachés that work for the FBI. They're embedded overseas in the embassies. They're going to have information relative to, well, this person was on, let's say, the radar screen of a foreign intelligence agency, and then, you might have something bigger. So it just expands the purview. They have abilities that local police department can access, but they don't have in-house. And it really comes down to who is going to be calling the shots. With the feds on the scene and with Director Patel saying what he said, I feel like pretty soon we're going to hear that the FBI is the lead.
And Paul, it's not just the FBI director, but Governor Jared Polis also called it a, quote, heinous act of terror. And what the police chief there, Stephen Redfern, was just saying is he doesn't want to jump at conclusions. It's very early, they're investigating, but they're looking at it, talking to witnesses. And we do have a statement, actually, from Boulder's Jewish community that Molly found, where they're saying they're praying for everybody. But to your point, just to walk it out a little further, in determining an act of terror, if this was a lone individual that was throwing something that has been described by many people out there as a Molotov cocktail, an incendiary device, but targeting specifically this group called Run for Their Lives, a pro-Israel group that has routinely been doing this peaceful walk in solidarity with the hostages in Gaza, would that account for it? Would that be textbook terrorism?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly sounds like it. So let's parse out how something becomes terrorism legally, so to speak, right? It comes down to the animus in your mind. It comes down to what your motivation for doing what you did was, okay? So, for instance, if the decision is made that this person was not trying to influence the civilian population or the action of a government, but just was doing it because, in this instance, he hates Jews, he hates Israelis, et cetera, then you're more into a hate crime than you are into a terrorist event. The animus in your mind, your motivation, becomes an overlay for what you did. Now, here's the rub, and it gets a little legalistic, but federally, you actually do need, in order to charge terrorism, you generally need, in almost every circumstance, a connection to a foreign power. And that's why a lot of people, myself included, and I take some grief on this, sometimes advocate for a domestic terrorism law. A lot of people don't like that because they feel it'll be misused. And I don't find that to be a compelling argument, that we don't want to enact a good law because we're afraid it's going to be misused. Let's not misuse it. In a case like this, whereas you could have, let's say, a state charge, because New York has terrorism charges, right? And they're a lot more easy to comprehend. You don't need the foreign connection. You can just say the guy did this for terrorism purposes. He was trying to influence the population. He committed a violent act. We charge him. They don't have that federally.
I just want to drill one just a little bit further, because this is fascinating stuff. In Washington, I covered, obviously, the murder of two beautiful young people, Sarah Milgram and Yoram Lashinsky, shot in cold blood at the Jewish Museum there. And in the wake of that, you saw countless lawmakers saying, this is what globalize the Intifada looks like. We heard it on countless campuses, that it was basically importing globalize the Intifada, importing terrorism, if this individual turns out to have been shouting some of the same stuff. Are we sort of in a new space? We haven't been tying what would normally be a hate crime to terrorism because of influences that have come abroad?
I feel so, and I feel like that's been the trend for a while here. We have to jump through too many legal hoops to get a federal terrorism charge for stuff like this. And look, they being the federal prosecutors, can use a very thin strand to get this connection to a foreign power, and they often do, and the case law upholds that. But it becomes a lot more tenuous at the federal level, whereas the state charges, and it's like I think we're up to about 35 states that have state charges. It generally is a lot more simple. It's just ideological plus violence, boom, we have the terrorism charge. And that's the thing that we don't have at the federal level, and that's why we have discussions like this.
Paul, we're just getting this in. The Colorado Attorney General says this attack appears to be a hate crime, given that the group was targeted.
Yeah, so
given the group that was targeted.
There you go. So look, I didn't have time to look up whether or not Colorado has a state terrorism charge. And
Right.
if they're pushing this into a hate crime bucket, they might not.
But what does it mean if you are a group like this one who has frequent gatherings, or you publicize that you're having a demonstration? Are they sitting ducks?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And, that's going to be one of the things that law enforcement looks at, let's say about third, right? The first thing is to do everything you can to help anybody who's injured. You want to make sure you do everything that's a given. That's the first thing they're going to do. You do that in certain instances, even if it means the perpetrator gets away, okay? Now, in this instance, it doesn't look like that happened. They have one in custody, okay. But then you're going to look at the danger issue that may still be out there. Did he act alone? Does he have an accomplice? Is his car booby-trapped? There's reportedly a vehicle of interest on the scene. You're going to spread the investigation to make sure that there's no other danger out there. Does he have a relationship to a group? Can you pull his phone? Was he online? Did somebody weaponize him? You're going to look at all of those things because you want to make sure there isn't. So once you make sure that, okay, we're in a safe territory, you got to do now the backwards look to say, like, should we have been anticipating this? Should there have been some security? The problem is that in a First Amendment society, which is us, and there's a reason it's first, it's one of the foundational aspects of American jurisprudence. It's very, very difficult as police, federal, local, state, doesn't matter, to interdict things before they happen. You can put security guards and stuff like that, but in a First Amendment society, to be quote unquote spying, and I hate to use that word, to be trying to penetrate people's communications before they do something, gets you into a very dicey area, and law enforcement has to default to giving people their rights.
So with multiple victims at least two different hospitals, you have one in custody. Take us into real time. How fast does this all happen? We watch TV shows and it gets done in a half an hour. But the reality of what's going on here between the feds, competing jurisdictions, you probably have a sheriff involved, you got local police department. And somebody it's not as sophisticated, I would think, as maybe like a New York City or a Philadelphia compared to a Boulder, Colorado, which isn't dealing with this every single day. Explain to us in real time what's going in. They expanded the perimeter of which they were looking at.
Yeah.
What else is happening?
All right, so here's what they did. They set up a command post. You'll hear that alluded to. Sometimes they use an acronym, et cetera, but that's the gist of it. And what happens when something like this happens is everybody runs at it. Your job as the incident commander, all right, and there's going to be one person. You go up high enough, it's going to be one person calling the shots. Right now, it looks like it's the chief of police. If it goes federal, as I was saying earlier, it'll be somebody from the FBI. They'll make that determination soon. Everybody is going to have their bosses, their big wheels. They're all going to be positioned under this tent, probably outside near the scene, but not at the scene. And they have to get on the same page. And one of your jobs is to say, slow it down. Okay, we have enough people here. We need other people to do other things. Like I said, go to his residence, go to his job, interview people that knew him. Do we have any devices? Does he have a computer? Can we look into even financials? Let's pull his travel. All the stuff that makes common sense, but it has to be done off scene. Whereas the inclination as law enforcement is to run at the thing because you want to help. It's in your DNA. Part of your job now is to take command. And you also have to say, this could be a while. So if you have people who, let's say, caught this at the end of their tour, they've been working 8, 9 hours, they were out there already, you say, you, and you, go home. I may need you tomorrow. We're going to have 3 more that just came in. We put them on overtime, and we're going to run this thing in an organized way, because otherwise you lose stuff. You lose stuff that could be important later at trial.
Paul, just quickly, we're going to go to Tease in just a moment, but we're looking at an active scene. They've asked people there in that area to avoid the area. They've said the 1,200, 13, 1,400 blocks of Pearl Street between Walnut and Pine. What should people know there on the ground right now if they're near there?
Stay away. absolutely stay away. I mean, I'm sure the impulse is to come look and see what's going on, but all you're going to see is a bunch of cops, which is, not exactly going to be anything that's really worth going to see, right? So just stay away from it. You never know. There could be a problem. You could have the vehicle involved. We don't know what the story is there.
Paul.
Stay away. Let them do their gig.
Thank you so much, Paul Morrow.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.